Do we ever take enough time to reflect on the things that are going to make us fit and healthy in life for living a fun, healthy, adventurous, and active life? That's a very long hook. I don't even know if it's a very good one, but that is what we are going to be talking about. Friends, for those of you who are watching or listening, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours in a night. Last night I got close to 7, but not at 7, which is now becoming a structural thing, something I need to remedy. I try to mind what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance. I try to eat around 2,200 calories. Try to eat a lot of greens because I think they're good for me, and I think there's a lot of nutrients in there that I need. And I try to eat sufficient protein to support my strength and muscle building goals, which is around 70 grams on a non-weight training day, and a bit more, closer to 90 or 100 grams on weight training days. Beyond that, I show up for training. I show up for mobility training, for endurance training, HIIT training, strength conditioning training, strength training, and after this recording, I'm actually going out for a Sunday morning run. And I'm still trying to decide what the protocol is going to be, but we're going to talk about that in a moment. Beyond that, I try to spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, and generally try to live a stress-free life. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life is going to throw at me. And whatever life is going to throw at me could be a lot. I've learned throughout my life that actually being fit, capable, and competent is going to help me deal with life and living. And there are a couple of other things a couple of other reasons why I find this important. We're going to talk about that while I make my coffee, but if you're interested in my take on health and living longer and living a healthy and active life, go ahead, hit like on this channel, say hi in chat, find that like button and like the stream. It really helps me out. Maybe we can get more than 10 likes on the stream today. And maybe you go to my channel and subscribe and let me know that you're interested in more of what I have to say. It helps me, it helps the channel, and also it helps other people who are looking for maybe someone like me who's like them, just someone who lives a normal life with a normal career, who's trying to stay fit and healthy on the side, to learn how I actually do that. So thanks for that, and I appreciate that. And if you feel like it, drop by in the chat, say hi, and also answer the poll, and then we can have a little conversation there. All right. So today's training, it is Sunday, and on Sunday I do my running. What does that mean? That means that on Sunday mornings I wake up and I come here and I talk to all of you, and we have a little conversation, and after that conversation I head out and I go for a run, and that is something that I am looking forward to today. What I'm trying to decide is whether I'm going to do an endurance run, which is basically a steady state run at a slightly higher pace than zone 2 or zone 1, because I do quite a bit of walking throughout the week, right? I wake up and I do my workout, and then I go out for a 30 to 45 minute walk every morning in nature, which I could only recommend everyone tries and does. Or am I going to do a Norwegian 4x4 type training, where I do couple of minutes at a high intensity close to failure, and a couple of minutes that are very low intensity, so zone 1, brushing zone 2 maybe, to recover, and repeat that a couple of times. And the reason I'm in doubt is because I did hill sprints Wednesday for 10 minutes, but that was only 10 minutes, and I know the Norwegian 4x4 is a relatively intense kind of training, and there are a couple of things that I need to consider. First of all, is how have I been sleeping this week? I haven't been sleeping very well. I've actually only hit 7.5 hours once since we got back from holidays. So there's a challenge there that we need to address, that I need to address in terms of my recovery. The second thing is that yesterday we had a little party in the house, and because we had a little party, it wasn't late, it was in the afternoon, early evening, but I did have, I think 2, maybe 3 glasses of bubbly over the course of the party. That was reflected in my sleep score last night, and I can also feel it. And I know I'm 41, maybe I'm old, but I have noticed ever since I started wearing the tracker, and actually I've started to learn more about the impact nutrition has on, hey, we have one person who is definitely working on their health and fitness. That's great. Health, fitness, and well-being. Thanks for filling in the form, the poll. I appreciate that. So that when I drink alcohol, it actually is incredibly detrimental to my sleep if I have it within 8 hours of going to sleep. It happens every time, especially the neurological relaxation and recovery is always off, even if I get sufficient hours of sleep. So it's worth keeping that in mind. So based on those two things, what am I going to do? Am I going to push myself, or am I going to take it easy? And I think the main thing for me right now is to just say, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to take it easy because I would like to have sufficient energy for the rest of the day, and I would like to not get injured, because I'm already recovering from sufficient injuries, enough injuries. So we're just going to focus on getting the workout in. So it's going to be a 45-minute to 60-minute run in zone 3 and zone 4 of my heart rate maximum, if that's something we're, if that is, and then let's see how I feel after that. Hopefully next week I'll be sleeping better, and I'll be able to do the Norwegian 4x4 or a variation of that, because I do feel I need to do something a bit more intense to work on my VO2 max. All right, now we've talked about that. Let's talk about my wheel of thriving. Okay, my coffee is still brewing. It's going to take a few more minutes, and we have a few more minutes to chat and talk to see how I approach and reflect on life. And if you've been on this channel more frequently and more often, you'll have heard me talk about this. Usually like once a month, on a Sunday, I will cycle through the 4 quadrants of my wheel, and we can talk about how using that wheel actually helps me understand what the priorities are in my life, what I need to focus on. As you can hear, the coffee is nearing its completion. There we go. Looks nice and steamy. That's probably going to be a very strong cup of coffee. So what is my wheel of thriving? Well, you probably heard this exercise before. I picked it up like 22 years ago, I think. And it is a tool that has helped me in some ways keep my life on track. And it's evolved over the years, but it's become quite stable over the last 6 years. So it took me about 15 years to figure out what really works for me. And once I figured that out, it has stayed that way. And I have kept it that way, made some minor iterations and alterations along the way. But this tool actually helps me think through my life and helps keep me on track for the life I want to live. So basically, I would visualize this as a circle with 4 quadrants. Um, and around that 4 quadrants, there are actually extensions that compartmentalize each of those 4 quadrants. So you'd have 2 concentric circles, one cut up into 4 pieces, and the second circle around that larger circle, so to speak, again representing smaller smaller slices of or smaller areas of that big area in the center circle. I focus on health. That has 5 different aspects for me. I'd focus on my relationships, or connection is how I'd name that quadrant. And relationships are one of the pieces of that. I will talk about my finances, which has 3 key points of focus, and I'll talk about my pursuits, which can have as many hobbies or pursuits that we want to have. I have 2 in there. Okay. And I always start with health, and I work my way around the circle to pursuits, because my health is good, then I am able to invest in my connections. If my connections are good and thriving, then it's easier to focus on my finances. My finance is good, then I have the space because I'm healthy. I have a stable base of friendships and connections, and I have my finances in order to focus on things that I find interesting, my hobbies and pursuits. And why does this work so well for me? Well, I think it answers 4 basic questions about health and well-being. Is how am I doing physically, mentally, emotionally, financially? Actually, I capture finances in health. What is my support network like? Do I have the relationships and connections, communities that I can fall back on when things are going well, that I can find some meaning and purpose in? Do I have control over my financial future immediately and in the long term? And there's some considerations there. And am I investing time and energy in things that I actually enjoy doing? And am I getting something out of that that is satisfying and fulfilling to me as a person? So if that's clear, we're going to talk about the different quadrants in a bit more detail. And hey, if you're watching and dropping by, thanks. My name is Toby. I'm 41 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, training, being active, investing in my friendships, spending time with people I love and care about, and generally living a stress-free life. So if you're interested in that, then what I have to say, go ahead and hit that like button. Let me know that the stream is interesting. It also helps other people find the stream. And if you're interested, you can also go ahead and check out my channel. And maybe subscribe or share it with someone in their mid-30s, 40s, early 50s who you think might benefit from chatting or hearing from someone who's on a similar journey, trying to figure out what health and fitness means in this day and age, given the challenges we face. So, my wheel of thriving. Health, physical health, emotional health, mental health. Yeah. Um, Spiritual health, if that is one that you're focused on. I'm not very focused on that, but I know some people who are, so it's there. Your connection to whatever whatever path you've chosen to follow. And then financial health. I put those 4, 5 in health as things to just touch upon and reflect upon to see what um, what that means for um, me as a person today when I look on this. So Sunday morning, am I physically healthy? I think the answer is yes, right? I train every day. I live an active lifestyle. I eat well. I am not very lean, but lean enough. And I think I'd call that a healthy weight. I am um, I am active. I can run for 60 minutes if I need to. I can sprint for 60 seconds if I need to. I can lift, I think, at least 25 kilos off the floor, so that's a bit more than a quarter of my body weight. I can um, I can get into different positions and stretches, and I have no current um, illnesses or afflictions that are decreasing my quality of life. So overall, I think that we can say, yeah, probably I am physically healthy. Could I do more? Yes, I could have my biomarkers checked. I could have my blood work done. I could get a VO2 max test. Um, they're different. There are different things that I probably could do to reassure myself that I am actually physically healthy. And at 41, I'm getting to the age where maybe I do need to do some more regular physical checkups. See, the last VO2 max test I did was a year ago, February, so a year and a half ago almost now. I did some blood work recently for my omega-3 levels, but omega-3 is an indicator. It's not really going to tell me that much, just that I have sufficient of it in my diet through food and supplementation. So maybe there's a bit more that I can do there worth looking into. And let's talk about my emotional health. Emotional health for me is the range of emotions that I experience in a day and a week. And mind you, I'm not a doctor or a psychologist or a therapist. This is just how I look at life and living. I'd say my emotional health is good. I have a wide range of emotions, from frustration and anger to joy and elation, love and caring, dislike, uh, irritation. Everything passes by in the course of a day and a week. And I think as long as we can experience all of those emotions, but generally feel content and happy and blessed and joyful, we're in a good place. I think the problem starts somewhere where we, oh, that is a strong cup of coffee. The problem starts somewhere where we, how should I put that? Where we get stuck on one emotion. So we're always in love, which is a very intense emotion. And then when that feeling fades or isn't reciprocated, then we are very sad and we're always sad, right? Whereas, I experience love multiple times a day, but I also experience some irritation and frustration a couple of times a day. And I experience everything in between a couple of times a day. But generally, overall, I'm quite balanced and happy. And I think that is a good sign for me. That's how I take that. Mentally, my outlook on life is positive. I'm optimistic. I think the future is going to be good. I have very little stresses and concerns. everyone that I love and care about is healthy. So I think we're in a good spot there. And I'm going to hope and keep doing the things that I'm doing to do my part, making sure that that we stay that it stays that way. Right? And one of the things that I found that actually really boosts my outlook and my mood is my daily workouts. Or on the rare day that I don't get to work out in the morning, I notice it in my mood immediately. I feel like I've missed a step in the start of the day. That's how used I've gotten to actually having this as a part of my routine. All right. I don't have much to say about spiritual health and well-being, but that is one worth considering. Have I spent enough time connecting with the religion traditions that I feel keep me healthy and sane? So that's one to consider. And then there's finances. And why do I park finances with health, right? Because we have a separate section on finances as well. I consider finances and health for one very simple reason, that statistically, thanks for the support there, by the way, I appreciate that. And it's good to know someone's watching. Thanks a lot. Finances are in health because statistically speaking, the wealthy live longer, are healthier, have better access to healthcare, to the means to stay fit and healthy. So if I am financially healthy, it is more likely that overall all the other things I'm actually doing better at as well. And I think it's one thing that we very frequently and often forget and actually too easily skip over, this relationship between finances or our financial position and our ability to invest in our health and well-being. All right. And it's not just that the money can buy us the gym subscription or the money can buy us the foods we need. It's also that the money or the level of income and the lifestyle we then have buys us the time we need to prepare food, to think about food, to think about how we're doing in terms of health and fitness. And we really need to start remembering and actually looking at our own situation and understanding that if there are financial pressures, if we are stressed about money, if we are time poor because we have to work multiple jobs to keep food on the table and provide for a family, that is going to be very hard to stay fit and healthy and think about longevity and our long-term health and fitness, because we're always focused on this moment and what's happening in this moment, and whether or not we are going to have enough stability and income to survive the month or the half year. Okay, so that's why I put that one under health as a consideration. For me, I think in terms of my finances, I'm financially healthy. I have very few financial concerns. We'll talk a bit more about the details in a moment, but that could change, and that could change drastically, and that might change the tone and the frequency of, for example, this podcast and this time investment that I'm making in my health and fitness, because I can do this right now because of the lifestyle that my income and my job security affords me. Okay, so health, first quadrant. Let's move on to the second quadrant, which is connection. And I know connection is an interesting one, but we definitely are going to break that down into a couple of smaller quadrants. That's first my direct family, the people that I am related to, responsible for. It's my wife and children and my next of kin. Okay, that's my friends, friendships, and then it is the communities that I'm a part of. So there are three parts to this kind of reflection to go through. And for those of you who are watching and just dropped by and started watching, my name is Toby. I'm 41 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. And this morning we're using my wheel of thriving to reflect on the different aspects of life that I actually use to kind of gauge where I am in terms of my general health, fitness, and well-being on this journey that I'm on. So if that's something you're interested in, you go ahead, hit that like button. I'd really appreciate that. It also helps other people find the stream. It helps the channel grow. And if you're really interested in what I have to say about health and fitness, maybe you want to check out my channel and subscribe or leave a comment under one of the other videos. I'd really appreciate that. So the second quadrant, connection. All right, let's start with my family. There are basically two things that I have a lot of control over here, and that is, am I investing time and energy into that relationship, into those relationships? I think the answer is yes. I'm quite involved in the day-to-day as a husband and a father. Is there, so am I spending time there? And do I feel that there is that there is space for conversations and understanding? So is there this real connection between us about the things that really matter? There are little irritations and frustrations throughout the day, as you might have with anyone. I think that that is completely fine and actually a part of a normal, healthy relationships. We can disagree. We want children to learn how to behave, and they have their own minds and their own wills, as do the adults in the relationships. But can we, first of all, besides the time that we spend together, do we have the space to actually talk to each other and also have the difficult conversations, the disagreements? And I think we do, but I think sometimes, especially that second one, is difficult because there is maybe a little bit of a tendency to be conflict avoidant, or to just let things be the way they are, or to get stuck on different emotions. I think the most important thing there is that we also never let the day end in an argument. We always talk about it before bedtime. And then I think that is a good sign of trust and understanding between the people in the relationship. So worth thinking about that. But generally, do I feel that we're spending enough time together? Yes. Do I feel that we have a mutual understanding based in respect, caring, and empathy? Yes. That's my perspective. I might hear something completely different. So in other words, I think that's doing quite right. And I think the holiday we just had, for example, as a family, helped tremendously in that respect as well. Then we look at our friendships. And again, it is about, do we have the time to invest in them? Well, yesterday we had a lot of people here, and we actually noted that, for a couple of years there with little children, it was very hard to find a connection. So we saw each other maybe once or twice a year. We've now already seen each other like 4 or 5 times this year. So also something's changed with the fact that the children are older and have a slightly different schedule. You can plan day trips, weekend trips, longer holidays, time to spend together. So it looks like there is now more space to spend time with the people we love and care about, not the direct family, but the friends that make up the constellation of life. And friends are important for different reasons, right? But one of the main reasons is they help us reflect on life, see life through a different lens, keep us abreast of things that they are interested in, and broaden our understanding of the world we live in. So worth looking at, and worth seeing whether we have the time and energy to invest in them, why we do or do not, and then also checking in on the frequency. So I could go through all of my friends, see when was the last time we chatted and talked, and I know I have at least 2 people that I need to get on the phone with this weekend still, so today, Sunday, and of course in the evenings, in the evenings when I go for walks after dinner, it's also a moment for me to get on the phone and call them, just to have this little chat and moment to connect if at all possible. But I need to make better use of that. So I think in terms of my friendships, there's a bit more that I need to do to reconnect in some cases and make sure that at least I see everyone once or twice this year. Probably the easiest way to do that is to throw a big party in summer, but that's a different conversation altogether. Okay? And then there is the communities that I'm a part of. There are a couple of communities that I think we're a part of without really consciously being aware of it. And we really need to consider what those communities bring to our lives and why that is important. So the communities that I'm a part of, I'll give you 3 examples. Work, the work community, the colleagues, people that I spend a lot of time with, right? Those are people that you spend 20 to 30 hours a week with, at least, if not more. Then it is the street that we live in, with all of the neighbors, and the community that exists there. We also have what you'd call in English, I think, a homeowners association, but it works slightly different because I'm in the Netherlands. But that is a community, and we have some decisions and conversations about the states of the apartments and houses that are in our block and what we want to do about that. But broader than that, there's also the street where our children play, where the neighbors' kids play, that we're part of. There is maybe a sports club or a community around a hobby or interest that I'm a part of, right? In my case, this is my community, people that I'm talking to here on my channel, but that could also be rooted in the real world, not the digital space, where we are a part of a gym or a sports team, something else that is also a community that we're a part of. And I think it's important to have those kinds of communities and relationships in those communities. Maybe we're volunteering for a charity, because it is so important for us to have a sense of belonging to a group, for us to have a sense of contribution to a group, or to something that goes beyond ourselves, for us to feel that we can make ourselves useful in society through contributions to a group or an organization. There's a reason all of these things and structures exist, and especially today, we are so focused on us individually that we tend to forget that there's a whole we out there that we also need to be mindful of. So what we need to assess here as well, how am I doing in those communities, and how have I been participating and contributing there? And I'm one of those people that actually goes to the office 5 days a week, despite it not being required. But I enjoy being there. I like seeing my colleagues. I like catching up and hearing about everything that's going on, which is why I do that. I'm still looking for an opportunity to more actively participate in things that are being organized at the office, or things that people are organizing at the office. But we'll figure that out as time passes, because I have quite a big workload at the moment, and I don't want to take on too much more. But at the same time, I do try to show up to social things that are organized by other peoples and committees in the office to, show my support, and also mingle and chat with people and be a part of that. And to be fair, there are a couple of colleagues that are not in my direct team that I talk to about health and fitness, and ask me to kind of work with them. And I do that because I enjoy that, and that I think also is a part of contributing to the broader community of that office space. So there are different things that we can do there, right? Then there is, the community of the street. Yes, I talked about the homeowners association. There's a meeting there that we're going to have, that we've been setting up and talking about. So I think active participation there as well, right? That's that's going on. And then there's, for example, the parent group of the kids at school, and other parents are quite active in this group. And it's important, I think, also to participate and have our children participate in the activities that are being set up, and the conversations that are being had there. For example, one of the conversations is, do we want a phone-free school for our children? And by phone-free, we mean smartphone-free. So worth being a part of that community and conversation. Geese88, good morning. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well. And I hope life is treating you well. Today's 15-minute podcast is becoming a lot longer. But I think for good reason, because we are reflecting on the important things of life. Thanks. Happy Mother's Day to you as well. Always celebrate our mothers and the people who gave us life and cared for us, hopefully in a good way or to the best of their capacity in life. And after my run, I actually have a whole bunch of croissants that I need to make for my sons, and then they can give them to their mother. We already did all the flowers and everything yesterday because it was market day. It was very sweet and very cute, actually. Connection, right? We've gone through that quadrant. Moving on to the third quadrant, which is finances. And finances is an important one, but also let me preface this by saying I don't give financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is just how I look at it. I split up finances in three chunks. The first is the income and the balance between my income and my cost of living. The second is my savings, specifically the emergency fund and the space I have between my cost of living and the income. And the third is my investments for the future, for the long term. Okay. So when it comes to finances, first of all, I have enjoyed a very steady and stable income for around 13 years now, and that has been a very good foundation for life. It has allowed me to relax, to discover things that I enjoy and don't enjoy about life, to build a family, and I'm very grateful for that, having had that stability. And I think that is something that I would hope we would all be able to find in some way. It doesn't matter what the amount is, as long as it is stable and reliable over time. There's a lot of peace of mind and also power to be found in that, because it gives us something, a target to work towards, right? And the target is, our cost of living, right? So my cost of living versus the income is very well balanced, which means that there's rooms for savings and investments, all right? What does this mean? This means that when we look at income, we want to understand income in relation to where we live and what the price of the big ticket items are, which are housing, utilities, transportation, and food, all right? So looking at that, I think if we understand that the cost of housing is probably one of the biggest expenses that we're going to have in terms of the income that we have, it's important to kind of try to figure out, how do I balance the cost of living, right, and the cost of where I live, but also the cost of how I keep that house warm and upkeep it, and the cost of providing food for myself in that house, or myself and the ones I love in that house, for the amount of money that we have. And we need to strike a good balance with that, because if we cannot, if we're constantly spending more money than we actually have, then we're never going to be able to move from that financial concern into being able to save up for 3 to 6 months and then invest in the next 20 or 30 years. And I've been on the other side of that, right? I've struggled, worked from assignment to assignment as an entrepreneur, I'd say, at that time, running around chasing money living at one point actually month to month, racking up some debt as well on my credit card, stuff like that, to actually turning that around, and that all turned around when I got that fixed income and actually brought my absolute living expenses down to a manageable amount. And then off that base started to build more. Once we have that balance, right, what is the difference? And we need to save up that difference, and we need to save up, and I used the Reddit personal finance wiki for this, and it has served me really well. First I saved up 1 month of expenses, that became 3 months, and that became 6 months worth of expenses. So would I lose my income for 6 months, I would be able to continue living the same way I was living with that stable income, and 6 months is more than enough time to find a job at the level of income that I want to have to pick up that cycle again. But being able to build that savings and build out that savings at the time was a big step for me. And still to this day, I put aside at least 10% of my income. So the differential between my income and my cost of living is more than 10% at the moment, but at least 10% of what comes in every month goes into long-term savings at the moment, savings and investment, right? Because that's the next step. I'm building my financial future, but not only my financial future, also the future of my children and my family, or should something happen to me, for my wife and my children, okay? We are not rich, but I do think it is my responsibility to ensure that there is a plan for all of them. And this is also something that we discuss, obviously, in that connection part of this equation. So, cycling through those three things. Is there a good balance between my income and my cost of living? Can I put that differential into a saving so that I have an emergency fund enough to finance a broken dishwasher, broken washing machine, repairs to the house, a broken down car, an emergency surgery if you don't have proper health care, something that needs to be taken care of in the moment, and then putting whatever is left on top of that into long-term investments, so that we are actually also working on our longer term future. So immediate future, 12 months, right? Long-term future, more than 12 months out, if that makes sense. Finances. So we've cycled through health, we've cycled through connection, we've cycled through finances, and now we're going to cycle through pursuits and hobbies. And I've talked about mastery, actually. It's the topic on Friday, right? Because on my podcast Monday through Friday, we talk about sleep on Monday, food on Tuesday, activity and exercise on Wednesday. We talk about connections, friendships, relationships on Thursday, and we talk about hobbies, pursuits on Fridays, and mastery, right? Why do I find hobbies so important, but they come at the end of the cycle? It's because we need time and energy and mind space to be able to invest in them, right? And I consider them last because there's already a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment in working on health, in working on relationships. Maybe that already involves a hobby somewhat, and in managing our finances and making sure those are in order. But hobbies are things pursuits are things that I would do for the sake of doing them, things that I enjoy doing simply because I am capable of doing them. So the live stream and the channel that I've built here in the community that is popping up around that, right, is something that I simply enjoy doing because I was already working out. I figured I was making videos, I might as well start live streaming. And slowly but surely people start to show up for conversations, talks, questions, sharing their insights, which I've learned something from. And it's become, for me, kind of like a fun hobby and pastime to share these conversations and insights with people here online. And I hope, you are of the same mind and the same opinion about what's going on here. But I also have another pursuit, which is creative writing. I enjoy storytelling. I enjoy putting words on paper, and I enjoy reading and learning about that craft and also putting it into practice. And it's actually one that I, over the last months, have not found sufficient time and energy for. Something that I would like to spend more time and energy on. But I need to figure out when and how I'm going to do that, because between trying to be in bed between 8:30 and 9:30 and waking up at 5 to do the workouts, etc., and then the kids and then work, it seems to be falling between the cracks more frequently. However, I'm working on podcasts and storytelling in podcasts, right? So there is some application of the skills, but I would like to be able to sit down for 15-20 minutes a day at some point and just write and get it out of my system. So that's one probably that I am not investing enough time in, and that is on my mind, and I keep it on my list because I would like to get back to it at one point. That's my wheel of thriving, and that's how I would cycle through all of those steps, just with the idea of doing a check-in with myself. And I wouldn't do this every week. I'd probably do this once a month or once every 3 months, because throughout the week we probably check in on the different quadrants already, if we're talking about all of these different topics regularly. But just to get that bigger picture, and sometimes that bigger picture means, well, taking a step back and saying, okay, well, if I keep doing these things for my health, if I keep doing the things that I'm doing right now for my connections, if I keep doing the things that I'm doing right now for my finances, if I keep doing the things right now that I'm doing for my hobbies for 12 months, 60 months or 5 years, right, or 120 months, 10 years, where am I going to end up? Is that the trajectory that I am happy with? And if the answer is no, then that's a very clear indication that something needs to change, and that we need to make a step change in how we are approaching life. And there are sufficient focus areas, right? There are 5 in health, there are 3 in connection, there are 3 in finances, and there are 2 in hobbies. And that's a lot of specificity in terms of where we might want to focus some attention for the next 6 to 12 months in order to improve that. And usually you start to focus on one thing, you do a bit less in another, and that's probably fine, because an improvement in one also generally leads to an improvement in some of the others, for whatever reasons that is. And I found that an improvement in physical health tends to lead to a relatively significant improvement in most of the other details of that wheel of thriving. That's all I have for you today. I see a couple of you are still watching. Thanks for dropping by, having dropped by, for having had the conversation with me. I really appreciate it. Let's see how many people filled out the form. I see whoever filled it out is actually actively working on their health and fitness. That's great, just like me. For those of you who have been watching and are wondering what you're looking at, my name is Toby. I'm 41 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, minding how much I move, how active I am, spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, and generally try to live a stress-free and active life. So if that's something that you're interested in, then check out my channel, like the stream, like the videos, and we can continue this conversation. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I always think that's important to say. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life is going to throw at me. And in my experience, life can end up throwing a lot at us. So it's always good to be somewhat prepared for that. I'm about to go out on my run. This has been a 40-minute podcast today. So I appreciate you sticking with it, dropping by, saying hi. I am not streaming a workout today because I can't stream my run, but I'll be back tomorrow morning with another workout, obviously. So if you subscribe to my channel, you will get the notification, and you can join me tomorrow for a light kettlebell training, which is what we're going to do in the morning. And hopefully my Swiss ball is going to arrive tomorrow so that I can start using it for my mobility and rehabilitation of my shoulder on Tuesday. We're good just the way we are, friend. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness to ourselves is going to go a long way, all right? And there are enough people out there who want to put us down. So remember, we lift ourselves up. And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I'm going to go out for that run, all right? You take care. Geese88, thanks for dropping by. And I hope you're well and you're going to have a good day. And remember, friends, subscribe.